white hot flame. From prayer to gunner, we calling names. Yeah.
Woo! What's going on, chat, YouTube, and all the other places this will end up? Jake, a.k.a. Countdown, ended. Back to you once again, alone and solo today, without my good man Spaz. But going to go ahead and bring you the preview for wrestling in the week of January 27th, 2025. That's right, we're going to go over the previews for everything to come this week in wrestling. You know, we've got some great things happening and a lot to discuss between Raw, NXT, Dynamite, TNA Impact, and SmackDown. So I did talk a little bit about on the most recent review. If the camera wants to go ahead and focus, that would be nice. But we talked on the recent review about watching TNA Impact live and how much of a freaking fun time we had with that show. They had surprise after surprise. It was fun seeing WWE talents over there. It led to some really good storylines coming up. I'm invested in TNA. I didn't think I would say that. I didn't think I'd admit that. But here we are, 2025. That was not on my bingo card, but we've got a few things to discuss as far as the week goes. Going to go over some rumors, some news, and a little bit of opinion from Collision. We didn't really get to talk about the timeless Tony Storm reveal from the other night, but I want to go over that and basically go through my thoughts on everything. So I appreciate you all coming here, hanging out with me, and making it a good night. So remember, this is the go-home for the one, the only Royal Rumble in Indianapolis, and we will be live this weekend after the Royal Rumble. That's right, myself and Spaz will be here live breaking down all the action from this weekend's 2025 men and women's Royal Rumble, as well as Kevin Owens taking on Cody Rhodes in a ladder match. I mean, there's a lot to write home about with that. So tonight's Raw is going to have Cody Rhodes in his home state. He'll be there. We're also going to go ahead and possibly have Goldberg. I mean, that's news and noteworthy as much as you'd want to put it on. War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, the current champs, taking on Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough for the World Tag Team titles. So that'll be good. Get some tag team action in tonight on Raw. Sami Zayn is taking on Drew McIntyre. I am all about that. The way that Drew's character is only progressing more and more into this evil bastard. I love it. And then we also have the women's tag team champions, Naomi and Bianca, versus Liv and Raquel in a non-title match. So will we see the tag champs lose since it's non-title? Also, Logan Paul is going to make his first appearance moving to the Raw brand. He'll be there live tonight. Is he going to declare himself for the Royal Rumble? What's going to happen with Kevin Owens set to appear tonight on Raw on Netflix as well? I'm excited. You know, things have been building week to week. I've loved the build towards the Rumble. Saturday night's main event was a ton of fun. Wrestling's in a great place right now. So like I said, we're in the middle of a wrestling renaissance. What's not to love? There's something for everybody. Speaking of something for everybody, we also have NXT on Tuesday. So NXT this week, kind of following up on what happened a little bit with Genesis and TNA Live. So we've got Bianca Belair and Naomi taking on Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson for the women's tag team titles. So we're going to see them both on Raw and NXT. Curious to see if those two lose the belt. So do they lose on Raw and then lose the titles on NXT? Then we got Fallon Henley, the women's North American Championship title being defended against Shotzi. So we're going to see if Miss Blackheart can pull out a win. We've got Trick Williams taking on Wesley. Wesley going to be a big name coming up later in the week as well on Impact. So I laughed out loud repeatedly. I haven't really had like that belly laugh, ha-ha moment in some time with wrestling, and seeing Trick Williams just in the locker room slap the taste out of Wesley's mouth, that perfect smack noise, I popped for it. It was a lot of fun. And then we also have the women's NXT champion Julia taking on the tagging with the alumni Bailey to take on Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. So the former champ there going after the current champ. Then we also have Cedric Alexander. He's going to be taking on Ethan Page. This is a big revenge grudge match after he got his fingers slammed in the toolbox, being broken there. And his partner, Javon, he was brutalized. We saw his jaw broken and get wired shut. He's not cleared to wrestle. He wants to make Ethan Page suffer. So will we see him be a factor in the match as well? And then we have the Grayson Waller effect with Austin Theory for the NXT champion Obafemi as their guest. So that's going to be also live from Atlanta at Center Stage. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited as well. Then this week for Dynamite, so far we have 2 matches announced. So we're getting Jeff Jarrett versus Claudio Castagnoli. And Jeff Jarrett gets an AEW World Championship match if he wins. With this storyline, I get what they're going for. I'm not loving it. And him and MJF have had some decent promos back and forth. I like what they had to say. It's been good healing heel on heel, essentially, even though Jarrett's supposed to be the face. But granted, I guess maybe if they made Jarrett more of a contender for a bit longer, if they built him up, if they made him go ahead and seem like an actual credible threat to the title. But we know how the storyline is going to play out. So he versus Claudio, he'll likely get his title match, and then MJF will cost him, and they will fight at the pay-per-view. That's my bet. Take it home with you. Will Ospreay versus Brian Cage. It'll be a good match, but they're live in Huntsville, Alabama at the BBC Probst Arena. And then they're also going to be taping the February 1st edition of Collision after Dynamite. So we'll hear more spoilers on that. That's why I don't have a preview for Collision this week. Thursday night, we have TNA Impact. Now, this is not live, but it is following up their big live debut last week. First time live in over 8 years. Nick Namath is going to kick off the show with his first comment since losing the TNA World title to my man, who I believe in. I better not say his name again. But then we have Ace Austin taking on Wesley. Wesley, he cost the Rascals again their tag team title shot at Nathan Frazier and Axiom last week. Amazing match. If you haven't seen it, please go back and check it out. You can see it on YouTube as well. Josh Alexander did quit, but this seems to be his last match in the company. What will happen when he teams up with Eric Young to take on Judas Icarus and Travis Williams? So the Northern Armory, they turned their backs on Alexander for quitting. Mustafa Ali made his triumphant return. I've always been a mark for him. I think he's incredibly talented. He's great in the ring. Probably one of the best live matches I ever saw at SmackDown was he and Neville years back before Mania. So this show was taped on the 23rd and 24th in San Antonio. Spoilers are out there, but I'm trying to stray from those. I want to watch it like it's live. Then, Friday, we have the go-home show for the WWE Royal Rumble. That's right, Chelsea Green is taking on Meechin for the Women's U.S. Championship. Meechin, been a thorn in Chelsea's side. Does she get the title from her? I'm thinking no. I'm going with red, white, and green, but we'll see what happens. Naomi is taking on Liv Morgan. A lot of the women's stuff going on. And then Jimmy Uso, after we saw him and Owens last week with a great match, he's taking on Carmelo Hayes. And then we've got the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelby, Chris Sabin, and Los Garza, Angel and Berto, taking on DIY. So Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Pretty Deadly Elton Prince and Kit Wilson in an 8-man tag. This will be live from Indianapolis, Indiana at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, getting ready for the pay-per-view. Sounds like a great time. I'm excited. Speaking of NXT, we saw Corey Graves on NXT this past week, and he kind of said he wasn't looking to leave WWE with his disgruntled social media post. He was saying that he still has 2 years left on his contract, and he said that many in in the company viewed his tweets as that. I thought it was a work. It was weird just to see him return, say, this is where I want to be, that's it, that's all there is to it. A bit odd, but hey, it works. Wrestling Observer newsletter is also reporting for AEW that Bobby Lashley and Swerve Strickland will be put back together in a few months, but added if it doesn't happen, that would be telling. They only had the one match. I think there's still more to that feud. It was weird to have Swerve being attacked by all of the Hurt, syndicate, and then go ahead and just kind of stop. We also saw AEW file a trademark for Captain Insano. So Paul White going to be wrestling in the ring. Didn't they already do the Captain Insano reference when he was with the Acclaimed? Isn't that kind of beating a dead horse? He could barely walk. I don't know what they're going for. And we also had to note that, as I mentioned earlier, Bill Goldberg is not factored into creative plans, they said, and he's not scheduled for tonight, but yet we keep hearing to the contrary. So if you want to believe Dr. Chris Featherstone, go ahead, but we'll see what happens tonight, if it's a build to the Rumble, build to Mania, if we see him at all. WWE is talking about Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair as one of the matches at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. Doesn't do much for me, honestly. I think there's a few other opponents in mind for Rhea Ripley personally, but I get why they'd want to go with it. It's kind of a few things back and forth, but Maple Leaf Pro put out a very long statement on Twitter, but basically they said 2024 was our mission statement to revive a brand that had been snuffed out 40 years ago, and they want to let everyone know we wish you a happy and healthy 2025. They will be back, so that's great to hear. They've got a few big shows coming out, and they said they hope to see everyone there, so I'm excited. That's going to be March 14th and 15th coming up. Then also we have on this side of things WWE announcing the limited edition of the Dead Man for WWE 2K25. So details are sparse so far, but according to WWE Games, we're supposed to get some type of announcement tonight as teased on the Raw Netflix debut. So we'll see what we see about the game there. Could be something pretty interesting. I'm pretty excited. Then also, Las Vegas Indie Promotion is going to be holding a benefit show for Chris Bay. That'll be on, they're calling it a Benefit, and this is out of Las Vegas. It's a promotion is Future Stars of Wrestling. So on March 23rd, it'll feature some of the biggest stars. You can see everybody that will be listed on their Twitter. Rob Van Dam recently did an interview where he said he visited Bay and claimed that Bay was paralyzed but isn't anymore and is slowly getting everything back in terms of feeling. So wishing him a speedy recovery. Obviously, that indie show, again, by Future Stars Wrestling, they're going to be putting on for him. I think it's a fantastic idea. He's going to have medical bills out the wazoo. Yes, he was able to go ahead and raise a good deal of money, but still, I believe his GoFundMe went around $100,000 so far, which is fantastic. But Pro Wrestling Noah declares their GHC tag team titles vacant. That's because Omos cut a promo saying that he's returning to WWE. So he had a 7-0 record for Noah during this excursion while he was over there. And he held the GHC tag team titles. So, for him having to go ahead, it's not yet announced how they will crown new tag champions. But his WWE does coincide with, over here, the Royal Rumble. That's right. So we'll see what happens. Mirror image. And also, Nikki Bella is currently being teased as a name that would be featured in the Women's Rumble. And there's a strong expectation from multiple WWE sources that it will happen sooner than later. One of the things Spaz and I mentioned is Solo Sikoa. We talked about it on the Saturday night's main event review from this past weekend. What's going to happen with him? What happens with him going forward? And it is kind of an interesting thing because we're now hearing that WWE is planning to stop using the Bloodline name for Sikoa's faction with Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. And as of Roman Reigns being the only tribal chief after winning Tribal Combat. So, a bit concerning for Solo Sikoa's future. I'm curious what they're going to do to build him back up as a threat after he was just kind of single-handedly taken out. And last bit of news on this, before we get into our last topic, is that WWE wanted Alexa Bliss to return to Raw under her old contract, but she was able to negotiate, or she wanted to negotiate a new deal with enhanced perks. The two sides reach an impasse. That's why plans for her to return on the Raw debut episode and the 13th were scrapped. So she's trying to renegotiate her contract still. I'm sure being a mother and married and all that wants a few little reassurances put in there. I get it entirely, though. And it's been interesting to see what we've gotten so far from the Raw transition over to Netflix. I've enjoyed it, and it makes me wonder, yes, it's been a little bit more casual than I would have liked, but it seems like they're still trying to, in the very beginning, bring back as many fans as possible when they try and bring more back. And hopefully they can get them hooked in around Mania time and then kind of go back to where they were telling the really good stories. So, another thing I want to get to lastly is the Toni Storm reveal. So, Tony's been back as a rookie for, quite some time now. She has amnesia, doesn't remember being in AEW, and now she's this rookie upstart. She wants to make her comeback, and she's going to go ahead and she's going to scrap and claw her way to becoming number one contender to face her favorite, her idol, Mariah May. And I said from the beginning, okay, the amnesia is a ruse. Obviously, she's an actress. She's playing herself. And here's the issue I had. To begin with, there was no reason for Mariah May to turn on Toni Storm. Toni was not abusive. She was not mean. She wasn't a Mercedes Moné and Camille avenue of things. She was, giving her tutelage and teaching her. And then Mariah May, under the tutelage of Toni Storm, won the Owen Hart Cup and now had a rightful shot at the title, so she could face her mentor. So why turn there? You have the title shot. I can see attacking her so that she would give you the title shot, but you just, in storyline, as a face, won and earned your right to face the champion. So if you have the right to face the champion, why would you turn on her? What was the reason? What was the why of it? It made no sense. It was just to do a thing, to make it, a turn happen. And I'm sorry, I couldn't help, but not suspend disbelief for that one. She busted her open, and famous with the heel, making Toni bleed. But why? The motivations were never really revealed, and it felt sloppy, and it felt like they were just rushing an angle just to do an angle. Now we cut forward. Toni's back to her rocker self, and she goes out there. She gets close to the champion, and she doesn't surprise attack her. She doesn't strike her down. She doesn't even really give her a witty comeback. She kisses her ass. Mariah May slaps her again, hits her with the belt, and then beats her, and beats her, and beats her, spits on her, and walks away. And that's when we get the promo from Toni Storm.
You.
And we get the reveal.
Makes you think that I've forgotten?
Now we get the crowd reacting. What makes you think I've forgotten? We know you haven't forgotten. She betrayed you for no reason at all. This reveal in itself wouldn't have been bad had they just handled it differently. The promo is excellent. The moment from after she was beat down was very good. But why couldn't she have just returned at Grand Slam as a challenger? There's no one left for me to beat. And then Toni comes back and says all this. It would have worked perfectly. And that's the thing. The passion that Toni put in, the promo, the way she cut it was great. But your plan was to get your ass kicked after re-earning the number one, contendership for the women's title when really you were the champion. You were owed a rematch. And obviously you were going to go after your former mentor. So why the ruse? Why? It wasn't like she said, I refuse to face Toni, and then you had amnesia. She didn't say, nothing like that was ever iterated, explained, or even suggested. So why couldn't she have just come back as Timeless Toni and faced her? Even if they wanted to do the one-off, but it just baffles me. So yes, this promo
makes you think our dance is done. You've just witnessed, it's the performance of a lifetime!
And that's the problem. It was just so expected. And this could have really subverted expectations. And I know WWE is predictable. We got a glorified house show in Saturday night's main event. But we went into it knowing that's what we expect and that's what we got. As where with this, they could have defied what we thought was possible. They could have tried to explain more, added more. And I feel like two very talented individuals here are getting really bogged down by the weight of bad booking and bad storytelling. Because this promo, just on its own, had she not gotten her ass beat and destroyed for minutes on end beforehand, and that was part of your plan. I don't know what plan involves getting your ass kicked, but c'est la vie, it worked, I guess. I mean, this line.
You may be the woman from hell, but you came from my womb, and I will shove you back up there and spit you out, for I am timeless, timeless, timeless Tony Storm, and I'm gonna rip your tits off!
I mean, the crowd loved it, and it was freezing in Daly's place, absolutely frozen. So for me to go ahead and poo-poo on this, it isn't for the lack of... it isn't for the lack of trying. Got to turn the mic up. I appreciate it. I tried to make it louder, but we'll see if that helps at all. But in the meantime, yeah, it's very disheartening because they're both great performers. They're great talents. And like I said, it just feels like bad storytelling, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens going forward. But again, that was your preview of WWE, NXT, SmackDown, Raw, TNA, AEW, all of it for this week. Let me know what you're most excited for down below. Go ahead and let us know if you're going to be around for the Royal Rumble this Saturday. Who do you think is going to win? And do not want to miss this. I'm going to be having my annual Royal Rumble Pick'em contest. I'll let you know when the video is posted. It should be up Friday. And you'll go ahead, you'll comment down below. When you comment, I eventually at some point will give you a number. I'll let you know if it corresponds to the men or women's number of the Rumble. And you'll go ahead and whatever entrant corresponds to that number, that'll be your person. Hopefully they win, because if they do, you get to win a prize. It's pretty cool. I'll explain the details better for this weekend. But I appreciate you subscribing. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you guys go ahead and enjoy your week of wrestling. Like I said, click the like button, subscribe down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to, and I hope to see you all soon. As always, stay sexy and have a great day.